Hey ladies, I am just getting started. I'm sorry there is a little bit of a delay at first, but please let me know if you are here and watching with me. I'd love your comments and, show me some likes. Let me know that you're here watching with me. I am sorry that I'm a few minutes late. It's just been one of those days. Been so crazy with all the hollow stuff and just other stuff going on, but I hope that everyone is having a good day. So let me go ahead and introduce myself. I am Bridget Kozlow. It is so great to be here with you ladies, and I have already seen so many great tips shared, and I'm just really grateful and happy to be here in this group with you, to have all the ladies from my team that are here, and to be getting to know everyone else and to be working with these amazing leaders. So just feel really lucky. I want to start by telling you just a little bit about me, and I'm going to try not to ramble because I think, as a lot of us have already said, I'm a talker, so I can ramble a little bit, and I always kind of prepare a general outline of what I want to say, but sometimes when I get talking, I can kind of, get a little bit off track, so I'll try to bring myself in and make sure that I don't get too far off track. I do want to apologize that I don't have slides here for you to look at. In an ideal world, I was going to try to have those ready because I am a visual person and I know that it can be easier to follow along with slides, but I didn't get them ready in time to go live here, but I'll probably maybe do some recap slides to condense some of the things that I'm talking about. If you want to take notes, great, but sometimes it's also good to just focus on what's being said, and I'll try to come back through and do a quick recap for you guys. That'd be helpful for me anyway, that I can use that later. But let me go ahead and hi Marissa, and is it Trish? Glitzy Tips, Trish. So nice to see you ladies. So let me say a little bit about myself and about my story here to start with. I am coming up on my 3-year Jamiversary with Jamberry. It's going to be 3 years on July 30th. So getting pretty close to that. And when I first started Jamberry, to be honest, I wasn't looking for another job, and I joke a little bit that when I joined Jamberry, I really had no business joining Jamberry because I was very busy. I taught at a university. I live just outside of Raleigh, North Carolina. I'm originally from New York, but I've been in North Carolina about 15 years over the span of my life since college and coming back after graduate school. But I was teaching full-time writing at North Carolina State University, teaching freshman writing, and I was also the associate director in the first-year writing program, in charge of some boring administrative stuff that isn't that interesting. But I was already very busy, and I had a 2-year-old. He's 5 now, but he was 2 when I first signed up for Jamberry. So I joke a little bit that I didn't really have business joining Jamberry. And in retrospect, I don't want to ramble too long, but it was kind of a surprise, even to me, that I signed up for a direct sales company. And I think it's good actually to bring that up since I'm here to talk to you about recruiting. It's important to recognize that, sometimes there are kind of flashing light saying this person would be good for Jamberry, or, they've always been interested in nails, or, other things. But sometimes the people who we end up recruiting or the people who end up joining our team, it's kind of a surprise that they join. And I was a surprise. Melissa Berg is my sponsor, and Melissa and I have known each other for 11 years, 12 years. And she had a Facebook party, and this was in July 2014, so Jamberry hadn't really hit it that big yet, and it was still kind of new. Very few people knew what it was. And I kept seeing all these pictures of nails in my feed, and I couldn't ignore it, all these beautiful pictures. I'm like, what is that? And then I tried a sample, and I fell in love with it, and I had a lot of fun in the party. I ordered a few times. Style Box had not come out yet. It was just about to be released, and I signed up for Style Box, and I knew that I was going to host a party, and I saw Melissa have this really successful party that did over $1,000 in sales, and it was after her party that she decided to join. And I went over her house, and we were putting our wraps on together, and she was kind of telling me a little bit about it. And I went home to my husband, and I said, there's no penalty. If you don't sell, there's no penalty. And, well, I don't know. I'm, curious about it. And my husband is very supportive, and he just kind of said, well, what's the risk? Go for it. See what happens. And that's how I joined Jamberry. I kind of knew that I was going to probably make more purchases anyway. So I thought, hey, I'll give it a shot. And Melissa so laughed that she had no idea that I was going to sign up when I contacted her and told her I was going to. So keep that in mind. Here as we're talking about recruiting, sometimes people catch you off guard, and it's why it's important that we pay attention. So I want to, talk about recruiting with some broader strokes, and kind of hit on a couple of different things. But to just briefly, sorry, I'm jumping around here a little bit, but just to go back to my story a little bit, the thing that I was afraid of the most, the thing that I was really worried about once I kind of started getting into things. There were a few things I was worried about, but initially my launch party was doing well with sales, and I looked at the fast start requirements. I am somebody that I don't always know what my long-term goals are, but if you put a challenge in front of me, it's really hard for me to say no or to not want to do well. I'm kind of just intrinsically motivated for challenges, and the fast start requirements were put in front of me. The fast start requirements have changed recently, and those are amazing, those changes. But when I had first joined, you had to do, one party, $500 in sales, and one recruit in Fast Start 1. And then Fast Start 2 was, another party, $600 in sales, and then a second recruit. And then Fast Start 3 was you had to be lead consultant, within your Fast Start 3 period. So, initially right off the bat, I was doing well with sales in my launch party, and I started my launch party before my kit even arrived, just using samples that Melissa had given me and using the purchases that I had made. So it wasn't that long into my launch party, but, a week or two into it, and I was talking to Melissa, and I said, this is fun, and sales are going well, but I don't think I'm ever going to get a recruit. And that was the thing that I was really worried about. I thought that, getting a recruit, not getting a recruit would be the difference for me when it came to trying to get my first fast start. And for some people, for a lot of people, the reason why they did or didn't get their fast starts, did end up coming down to recruiting. So that was the thing that I was really worried about, and I didn't think that I could do it. So very early on, I had a little bit of a roadblock. I thought, I'm not going to be able to recruit. And, not that you have to get your fast start. You don't. But I wanted to. So, from early on, I was worried about recruiting. And, to fast forward, I did get a recruit. And, in fact, I was able to get 2 recruits in my first month, my first full month as a consultant. But I'm going to be honest with you. I'm here talking to you about recruiting 101. I am not going to claim to be some recruiting machine. I did well initially, and I've had many ladies join my team. I have an incredible team of ladies underneath me. And at one point, I had over 400 ladies on my downline. We have less than that now. But, I started and this big organization bloomed underneath me. But sometimes I struggle a little bit with recruiting. In fact, I've struggled quite a bit in the last year, I would say. And I admit that to you because I want you to recognize that if you're struggling with recruiting, I'm here to give you some strategies and some tips and things to think about. I hope that everyone walks away from this feeling excited and feeling like they have a chance to really do this. And I want you to believe in yourself. I want you to realize that you can do it. If I can do it, you can do it. But I want to be honest with you that sometimes I struggle with it. And I'll admit to you where those struggles have been and where some of the things that I have felt or some of the things that I've done have held me back, okay? So I want you to have an open mind as you're listening to this. So to just kind of wrap up my total story, not total, there are a lot more things I could say, but as far as recruiting is concerned, in the close to 3 years that I've been a consultant, I went back and looked. I have recruited 21 people to my team. So 21 people have been direct recruits for me. I've had other people roll up. But lately I've been struggling with it a little bit, and I'll say more about that later. So I want to back up and, sorry, I've got a whole bunch of notes here in front of me. I want to think about, I want to start very basic with this. So why do you want to recruit? Or, why should you? Because not everybody wants to recruit. Not everybody thinks they need to. Or some people are worried about recruits. They're worried about supporting them. They're not sure, how do I support ladies who join my team? Some other things that I've heard or other things that I've encountered. Some people worry, especially when they're first starting Jamboree, how can I have somebody join my team now when I'm still figuring things out, right? I don't know how to do this yet, so how do I have someone join my team and how do I help them? Those were some of the things that I was worried about. I didn't think that I'd be able to get a recruit, and then when I did, it was kind of like, okay, what now, right? I didn't know how to support her yet. I was still trying to get my feet under me, trying to juggle all the things that I was busy with. So there are a lot of different reasons I think that some people initially, worry about recruiting, or they're not sure if they can do it, or they're not sure why they want to do it, right? Sometimes, for many of us, Jamboree is kind of a side business. Maybe some of you have full-time jobs already. or, some of you are very busy stay-at-home moms, and, you only have so much time for your business, so you worry about growing your team or those kinds of things, right? But if we step back and really think about, why recruit, what are some of the benefits of it, I want to talk about, 3 main things. The first one is a huge one, and it can vary so much from person to person. But the thing that I have realized, in the 3 years that I've had with Jamberry, not just from my own personal experience, but from the ladies that I've had the pleasure of working with on my team, or that I've met, through other reasons, whether they're sister teams or, met them at conference, etc., is that Jamberry really has the opportunity to be life-changing for people. And I don't mean that in, sometimes that sounds like kind of hokey, but, truly, if we step back and think about what are the ways that Jamberry has impacted each of us, if we were all in a room together and went around and we thought about, what's your because of Jamberry story, or what has Jamberry brought into your life, many of us would have these incredible things to say, whether it, reconnected you with somebody from your childhood or from your past, or because of Jamberry you were able to save your house, or, pay off debt, or have this amazing vacation, or, make this incredible friend, or, it helped you, figure out what you really want to do in life, or, etc. There are so many ways that Jamberry has been life-changing and life-altering for us. I didn't even really talk about the ways that Jamberry has been life-changing for me, but it certainly has been extremely life-changing for me. And I'll get emotional and I'll talk about things that, and I would go way off track if I go into that, but I'd be glad to, share that with you if you're interested. So, first of all, when you're thinking about recruiting, because Jamberry has this ability to be so life-changing, why would you want to keep that to yourself, right? We don't want to be selfish about who we do or don't share Jamberry with. If you have been able to have ladies join your team, and you step back and think about the ways that it has changed their lives, imagine being able to do that for so many more people that you might not even know yet, or your best friend, right? Like, if you didn't share that opportunity with those people, imagine, the things that might be different, or the things that may never change in their lives because of Jamberry. So, and, hashtag because of Jamberry, we know that there are so many incredible, incredible stories about the ways that Jamberry has changed people's lives. So that's the first thing. Such a huge reason for wanting to recruit. Next of all, Jamberry is so much more fun if you can do this with your friends. And that's the first thing that I always try to tell people when they're just getting started. If you're new with Jamberry, if you haven't been with us for that long, being able to do this with your friends makes it so much more fun and so much more meaningful. And, what I was worried about when I first joined and I got my first recruit, how am I going to help her? I don't know how to do this myself, but we were able to figure it out together. And my first 2 recruits were actually 2 friends from high school, from grade school. One lady that I had known since elementary school, one that I had known since middle school. But it had been 15 years since we had really talked or connected, and Jamberry connected us back together, and that was so fun, being able to reconnect with those ladies and being able to figure out Jamberry together. I'm still grateful for them being the first 2 ladies to join me on this crazy adventure, and it was so fun to do it with friends. So that's another reason why you should want to recruit. And if you're just getting started, if you're new, you can figure it out together. How many times in whatever career that you're in, whatever profession that you're in, do you get to really say to a friend, I want to do this with you, right? Most of us think it would be fun to work with our friends, but we don't always have a chance to do that, right? So, I was teaching writing. I couldn't say to just anybody, come teach writing with me, right? You have to have the qualifications, you have to have the experience. But with Jamberry, you don't need that, right? So it opens up that door for you to be able to do this with friends and family, if you want to. Not everybody wants to work with friends and family, but I see it as a pretty big bonus, pretty big benefit. To be able to do it together can be really fun. So the next thing is, and this is also huge, your business and your income will grow through recruiting. You do not need to grow a team to make a lot of money with Jamberry, but I guarantee you the people who have big teams and who are working and who are hitting their goals are going to make more money by building a team. So the compensation plan with Jamberry definitely rewards having a team underneath you. It is a working compensation plan, meaning you have to work to earn money. You can't just build a team and then sit back and collect money on it. But as long as you are working and your team is working, those things together end up making you money. So that's another reason why we want to recruit. We will see that our business and our income grow through recruiting. So I'm trying to keep up with comments so far. I think you ladies are with me so far. If you have any questions, let me know. Again, I apologize I don't have visuals in front of us, but I will recap these at the end. So again, those were kind of like 3 reasons why we want to recruit. So the next thing I want to do is talk a little bit about, okay, Susan, that's okay. If you don't have a lot of friends and family who are interested, do keep in mind that they may be more interested later. Sometimes it's great. Some of us end up having very supportive warm markets. Either they buy a lot from us and or they join our teams, but that doesn't always happen for everybody. It doesn't mean that you can't be successful with Jamberry. It just means that you might have to look in other places for some of your recruits. And you never know when people are going to come back and decide later, oh, you know what? I am maybe interested. It took a really long time for my mom to even try the products. And then she eventually did join my team. And then she decided, no, I'm really just better off as a customer. But you just never know. Like, people might decide later after seeing you be successful and also after seeing you remain steadfast and focused in your business. Sometimes friends and family decide later, okay, you know what, I really do want to find out what this is about, so I'm going to come out, I'm going to come check things out now. So, file that away for now, and I'll circle back to that again. So the next thing to think about is, who do we want to recruit? Where do we look for recruits? So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about people to make sure that you're keeping in mind as possible recruits. And I'm going to talk to you a little bit about making a list in your recruiting notebook. So I'm going to touch base on some of the things that have been talked about a little bit already, but then hopefully give you some more things to think about. So a major source of potential recruits for you is, and if you want to get out a list and start making a list along with me while I'm talking, then that would be awesome, because then you'll have a jump start on some of the homework that I'm going to give you. So first thing, we always want to make sure that we are keeping our hostesses in mind. Whoever your hostesses are for your party, you should absolutely be talking to each and every one of your hostesses about joining. and hopefully more than once. Because we already know that our hostesses love Jamberry. Either they've tried it already, and they're already a fan, or, you give them a sample and then they really like it. But they're already excited about Jamberry. And they're already interested in sharing it with people, because that's why they agreed to have a party, right? So they should be the first people that you're checking in with. And when it comes to your hostesses, you want to check in with them hopefully multiple times, as I said. So you want to check in with them at the beginning of the party, in the middle of the party, and hopefully after the party as well. Because our hostesses usually are just kind of like a short jump away from joining our teams. And it doesn't take any special skills, to be a hostess or to become a consultant. So it really opens the door for you to be able to talk to them about it. So let's think a little bit about how to do that, how to approach your hostess. So I'm going to give you some language to think about. So keep in mind, of course, that this is just an example. You should always tweak it to sound like yourself. But I know that sometimes having the language, knowing what to say, can be some of the hardest part of getting started. So if I can give you an example that really helps you, make it your own, then I want to do that for you. So maybe you say, hey Sally, I'm so excited for your party, but I wanted to check in with you before we get started. Your friends seem super interested, and that's really exciting. But I wanted to ask you, even though I'm more than happy to earn the commission on this party, I want to ask you if you've ever thought about doing what I do. I wanted to see if you wanted to earn the commission from your party on top of your hostess rewards. What do you think? Right? And you can say, we could turn your party into your launch party, and I would be here to help you run it. That's a quick example of what you might say. But even just that simple question of, have you ever thought about doing what I do? Or, have you thought about it? Would you like to earn the commission on this party in addition to the hostess rewards? And that gets them thinking, there is opportunity here. And it lets them know that you're not just thinking about yourself. You're not just thinking about the money that you could earn, but that you're thinking about the potential for them and how it could be beneficial for them. So, keep in mind that if she says, no, that's okay, like I'm really just more interested in being a hostess, you already have the party, you already have the booking, so you really are not going to lose something by offering that to her. And you never know, she might take you up on it. That's actually part of my story. I didn't really clarify that, but I ended up joining before I hosted a party, because I saw how successful my friend had been in hosting her party, but she was not the consultant. She decided to join afterward, and she lost out on the initial commission of that party that did more than $1,000 in sales, which was incredible, right? And I saw that and I thought, I don't want to lose out on the commission from $1,000 in sales. So I decided to join. And I did have over $1,000 in sales from my launch party. So, just offering that opportunity to your hostess lets her know that you're really thinking about her. And that's a really, you're coming from that place of service, which when it comes to recruiting in general, it's really important for the larger mindset. And, showing them that you're thinking about how they could benefit rather than how you could benefit, right? So even though you will benefit by having someone join your team, that's not what you want to focus the conversation on when you're offering that opportunity to other people. So, Susan, I'm looking back at the comments. I see you saying that you're worried about people laughing at you. And I certainly understand that. I understand that fear, that worry. most of us, when it comes to approaching people about Jamberry in general, whether it's sales, hosting, or joining, all those things, all those reasons why we might need to talk to others about Jamberry are scary, right? And they feel especially scary when we are talking to family and friends. We're worried about the reaction that people are going to have, but I just, I want to let you know that for the most part, like, they're not going to laugh at you. They're probably not even going to be mean to you or say bad things. For the most part, they'll say, thanks for thinking of me, but I'm really not interested, right? For the most part, saying no is really kind of as bad as it gets. And as long as you do it, as long as you do not pressure somebody, as long as you are honest and genuine with those people, and if you keep that mindset of trying to come from a place of service, trying to think about how they're going to benefit and what they might gain from doing X, Y, or Z for you, whether it's getting that purchase or booking that party or joining your team, if you think about what they're going to benefit, how they're going to benefit, then, they're almost guaranteed not to have a negative reaction to it, even if they're not interested, But I don't want to downplay your fear, because fear affects a lot of us. And I actually think that it's been affecting me quite a bit this last year. And I'll say a little bit more about that later. But I just want to let you know that, all of this, the fact that you say that you are afraid of how they might react, I know that there are a lot of other ladies who are watching this, or, whether it's watching now or maybe watching the replay, that they're afraid too. So thank you for saying that. And I'll certainly say a little bit more about that a bit later. So the first group of people we want to make sure that we're checking in with are hostesses, and if possible, we want to try to offer them the opportunity to join before we even start their party, so that before you've even started to collect sales from their friends and family, they know that you're thinking this could be them instead of you getting that commission, right? And, just as a small note, I want to acknowledge that two things. One, sometimes we worry about approaching hostesses about joining, because then we lose that party. If you turn their party into a launch party from the beginning or even midway through, then we lose some of those sales. And those might be sales that we're depending on, right? Those are sales that we need to maybe hit our goals, or, for us to make money, But even though we make that initial sacrifice of giving up that party so that they can get the commission, you are going to benefit so much more from them joining your team. The long-term benefit of having that person underneath you and getting, a portion of their sales, as long as you are working your business, is going to be much more beneficial to you than a single party might be. So keep that in mind. That initial part of giving up the party can be scary, but you will benefit more in the long term from them joining your team. And the second thing I wanted to acknowledge is your potential, new team member will also benefit more from, if they earn the commission off of their friends and family, as opposed to when hostesses join after they've already hosted a party. Sometimes it can be harder for them initially in their launch, because they may not be able to get as many sales from their warm market, because they've already bought from you, right? So it doesn't mean that they can't be successful. Many people who have hosted first have gone on to be very successful consultants. It might be a little bit more of a struggle just initially, if they've recently hosted a party for you. So, that's another reason to make sure that you present the opportunity to your hostess as soon as you can, right? Hopefully before you even start the party. So I just gave you an idea of how you might approach her. So I hope that was helpful. And then again, either midway through the party or at the end of the party or both, you might want to check back in with that hostess and say, hey, I just wanted to check back in with you, and it's been so much fun working with you as a hostess, and your friends have really been enjoying the product, and I just think that you're really great at this. So I just wanted to check back in and see if joining my team is something that you think you would like to do, or would you like more information about being a consultant, etc. Right? There are a number of ways that you might phrase that in a way that whatever is going to connect to the kind of experience that you've already had with the hostess. Or maybe you'll check back in with her in a month or two and say, hey, I'm just checking back in. You were such a great hostess with me, and my team is doing a sneak peek right now, so I know it wasn't a good time before, but I thought I'd check back in and see if you'd like to learn more about doing what I do. That kind of thing. But you do want to make sure your hostess is one of the first people who might join your team. So make a list, current hostesses, past hostesses, who can you check back in this month to see how they're doing and see if they've given more thought to Jamberry or if they'd like to learn more. So in your recruiting notebook, definitely make note of those hostesses. And if you've started your list, let me know in the comments how many hostesses you're going to be able to check back in with. The next group of people that we want to look at is at least 3 people in every party. So I'm going to talk to you about a couple of different types of party goers that you want to keep your eye on. So first, we want to keep our eye out for the person who's really active in the party. Many of you might have been that girl. I was that girl. I was super active in the party that I joined. I played all the games. I, commented on all the posts. I purchased more than once. I was super active. I got competitive. I wanted to win the free sheet of wraps, that kind of thing. So who is most active in the party? That's definitely somebody who you want to check in with as, someone who might potentially join your team. And if your hostess joins, then that might be her first person to join her team. I did have that happen where I had a party guest who was really interested in joining, and we kind of opened that conversation up. And then her hostess, her friend, was kind of on the bubble. So I checked back in with the hostess and said, hey, I wanted to let you know, this person from your party is really interested. She's thinking about joining Jamberry. And if you joined, then you would already have your first recruit. So in an ideal world, that would happen. It did happen in that party. Both the hostess and one of her party goers signed up, which is amazing. And they're still on my team. So definitely look for that active person. The other type of person that you might want to keep your eye on is somebody who, in comments and ways that you've engaged them in the party, is somebody who signals that Jamberry might be a good fit for them for some other reason. Maybe they've indicated that they, are a licensed nail tech, or maybe they've indicated that they, are struggling with money a little bit, or maybe they've indicated that they really miss getting together with friends, or etc. So if you're paying attention to the comments that partygoers are making in the party, then there might be someone who kind of is, not screaming, like the active girl that they love Jamberry, but there might be some other reason or some other way that they could benefit from Jamberry. So pay attention to those people. And while I'm talking about that, earlier I was talking about coming from a place of service, thinking about how joining is going to benefit the new team member. And I think now, thinking about that, it's a good time to acknowledge that there are all different reasons why people might join your team. And when we're looking for people to talk to about the opportunity, And in the conversations that we have with people as they're considering the opportunity, what we need to realize is the reasons why Jamboree might be a good fit for them could be very different from the reasons why Jamboree was a good fit for us. Some people really need the extra money, but some people don't, right? That might not be why they're joining Jamboree or even what they're hoping to get from Jamboree. Some people really, really need and are craving girl time and time to themselves or something that is just theirs, right? Maybe they're a very busy mom with a lot of kids and they're feeling a little bit like they don't have an identity anymore because all they're doing is taking care of their kids. Jamboree might be the thing for them that helps them, have some time to themselves and have something that's just theirs again, right? Or maybe somebody is, really embarrassed because she bites her nails and she has a job where her hands are always being seen, and Jamboree is that way for her to feel better about herself again, right? Like there are all these reasons why Jamboree might appeal to somebody. So it's really important that you keep your ears open and keep your eyes open and pay attention to how Jamboree could be a blessing for somebody else's life. I heard a really smart leader describe recruiting as heart work, is what she called it. And she said that everybody has holes in their heart, and recruiting is the way to find how Jamboree is going to fill up those holes in somebody's heart. So recruiting is heart work of being able to help somebody fill in those holes, right? That's so poetic. I love it. Being someone with an English background, it spoke to me. But if that is helpful for you to think about, to remember that there are all different reasons why people might join Jamboree. So part of the hard part of becoming better at talking to people about the Jamboree opportunity is recognizing that it may be something different for everybody, right? So Trish, if the hostess decides to become a consultant halfway through the party, can you switch the party over so they're the consultant even though the party is half over? So it's a good question. If that happens, you can't switch the existing sales over, but you can have them then create a party in their workstation, and any other remaining orders that come in through the rest of the party would go to the consultant who has just signed up. So again, you can't transfer any existing orders from the beginning of the party, but after learning that their friend has just signed up, then maybe even some people who had ordered already might order again if they can swing it, but some people do join in the middle of the party, and then, I, as, the sponsor, would do my best to, help make sure that they get additional orders as the party is wrapping up. And then any bookings that came from that party, whether they had already booked or they decided to book, I would pull all of those to the new consultant. So again, that can be hard as the consultant, as the sponsor. You might lose those bookings, you might lose those sales, but them getting a good start in their business and them being consultant on your team is going to benefit you more in the long run. But that's a really good question, Trish. Okay, so I know I've jumped around a little bit, but another person who is really good to look for in a party could be teachers. A lot of teachers have become Jamboree consultants. I'm a former teacher. So, teachers often have their summers free. So, if you have friends who are teachers, they might be good people to approach, to talk to see, if they want a summer gig, if they want something to do in the summer that's fun. And it helps that, warmer weather is usually easier. People are worrying about their nails, doing their nails. So even though the summer can sometimes be hard with sales, it is a good reason or a good time to talk to people about their nails. So teachers and having summers free might be a really good person to talk to potentially join your team. Another person that you want to look for in your parties to try to talk to about the opportunity is the person who wants all the free stuff, right? There's somebody who wants every giveaway, every sample, wants to win all the games. If they are doing that, they, A, really love jams already. So, most consultants are jam addicts. B, maybe they need some extra money. So that might be a good reason, again, to talk to them because they need some extra money. The last thing I want to say about party guests is if you have somebody in your parties who maybe she says that she already has a lot of Jamberry, maybe she does or doesn't buy from you again in the party, she might still be a really good person to talk to about the opportunity. So if she's somebody who says, I already have a ton of jams, then I would probably try to, talk with her in the party and or send her a message, try to start a conversation. And I would ask her, does she have a consultant that she's working with? She may or may not. She may have just bought from a lot of different parties. So you want to check in with her, see if she has a consultant that she's working with. And whether she says yes or whether she says no, I would ask her, have you ever thought about doing what I do? I don't know if the consultant that you're working with has offered this to you before, but I wanted to check in and see if you've ever thought about doing Jamberry, because I wouldn't be doing my job if I wasn't, offering you this amazing opportunity. So even if it seems like somebody who has it all, or, she says, I already have a ton of jams, you're like, oh, I'm not going to get a sale from her. But she still might be somebody who's interested in joining your team. So don't count her out. She's still somebody who you might want to talk to. So definitely keep your eyes open in parties. I just went over about 3 to 4 different ladies in parties that you want to make sure that you check with. So I'm already getting long here. I'm going to try to make sure that I wrap this up relatively soon, but I still have a couple more things to go over with you. So still thinking about ladies who you want to look out for. Definitely want to make sure that you're keeping your eye out for, when we're out and about, we often get our nails, complimented, and that's one of the things that's great about doing this business. And those people can still be potential recruits for you. Couple of things to try to make sure that goes okay, or that you get the information. I've had my nails noticed a lot of times at restaurants, or sometimes I've noticed that the server might have really cute nails. So you might say to your server, like, oh my gosh, your nails are so cute, which is a good kind of conversation starter, but your server is busy. So, instead of waiting and hoping that she's going to notice your nails too, which she may or may not, depending on how busy she is, you can be a bit more direct. So you might say, your nails are so cute. Is that a product that you use regularly? Or, would you be open to trying a new one? So that's a way that you could engage, a server, ask her to try a sample. You might say, I have some freebies. Would you try it out and text me later? So that gives you a way to give her a sample. And this idea came from Amy Smith, who is an elite executive. It's a really great idea. In her little sample packets that she gives out, she includes a short little insert. This is something about her Jamberry story. So her sample pack is kind of doubling as an opportunity pack, in one, but it's not salesy. It's not the Host Join brochure or the Like It Love It brochure. It is now, I guess. But But it's just like a short little personal blurb about her story with Jamberry. So it's planting that seed a little bit of the opportunity. So it could be a good reason or a good way to kind of start that conversation. Another tip that I saw given as far as like when you're out and about is to, and this comes from the book Go Pro, which I haven't read it yet, but it's on my list. But he says that approaching ladies at beauty counters is a really good way to maybe grow your business because they're already in sales, so they're already comfortable with that, and they're already focused on, providing service, and they're interested in beauty products. So this idea came from Julie Weatherhold, but she said you could approach these people by saying, I really appreciate the service that you gave me today. I just wanted to ask, are you happy with what you're doing? Anytime you encounter somebody who gives you really good service, it's a good way to start a conversation. And that can go one of two ways. They might say, yes, and I am. Or they might say no. If they say yes, you could say, oh, great. I'm in a similar line of work, and I'm always looking for really great people. Can I give you some information? If they say yes, they already, they like their job or they are happy, you can still talk to them about it. And if they say no, you can say, well, I'm sorry you don't love it, but you're really great at customer service. Maybe you just need something that's a better fit. I would love to tell you more about my business. Would Tuesday work for you? So that's another way that you can transition that conversation into being able to talk to them about Jamberry. And as far as like those kinds of conversations go, I want to acknowledge that initially it's scary and it's hard and we might really mess it up like the first couple times that we try to say it. Or try to have those conversations. I think with me over the 3 years, like each time I've gotten a little bit better at doing it. It's been a little bit smoother, and I've been able to go a little bit further to like remember the tips and tricks that other ladies have given me. The first couple of times that I gave out a sample to a stranger, I forgot to collect contact information, and then I had no way to follow up with those people. But I've gotten better about saying, oh, let me get your number so I can text you or, other things. So just give yourself some leeway, give yourself some grace. Know that the first couple of times it might be really hard, but it'll get easier. So, maybe say the first 3 times, you just, bless and release and let it go. But it will get easier the more you do it. So, definitely keep that in mind. All right. So we talked about people who are out and about. I'm going to give you a couple more people to think about. Obviously, your customers, your VIPs, Style Box subscribers, any of those people are going to be people that you should, at some point, definitely check in with, talk to them about the Jamberry opportunity. Don't be afraid to lose them as customers. You can always find more customers, right? Sometimes we get so attached to that VIP, we don't want to give them up, right? We don't want them to join our team because we know they buy so much from us. But again, coming from a place of service, they could be making commission off of, those purchases. And, they love Jamberry, so there might be something else that they could get from Jamberry. Also, make sure to check in with past prospects. If you've had people from vendor events say in the past they've been interested, or people from parties who at one time said they were interested, keep in mind that when they say no, or it's not a good time for them to join Jamberry, it still is important to check back in with them. And, good reasons, or, if you need an excuse to check back in with those people, anytime there's a new product, a new promotion, a new incentive, a new catalog, right? Those are all good reasons to check back in with people and say, I know when we talked before, it wasn't a good time for you to join Jamberry, but I wanted to let you know that X, Y, or Z is happening or X, Y, or Z is going on. So I just wanted to check back in and see if now would be a better time, right? So in July, we have this bonus pool stuff going on. You don't want to talk to them about how you could earn money, yourself, but how they could earn money, right? So talk to them, again, coming from that place of service. Check back in with them, open up conversation and dialogue so that you eventually get back around to Jamberry. It doesn't have to be your opening reason for why you message them. If it's somebody that you have a pretty close relationship with, it's probably not what you want to lead with, right? So, talk back in with them, see how they are. Mention, if you saw their vacation pictures, oh, I saw you went to Disney. Looks like you guys had a great time. Blah, blah, blah. That kind of thing, right? So I hope I'm not throwing too much information at you. I know I'm kind of sprinkling a lot of different things here. But again, I just wanted to lay some of the foundational concepts for recruiting. All right. Wrapping up my list of things to check, people to check in with, people that you have connections with on social media. There's a lot of people out there that if you're paying attention, if you start conversations, create a dialogue, they might be people out there for you. Some leaders, really swear by having like a YouTube channel, or, some people have been able to establish good relationships through Instagram or Facebook or moms groups, or we all have different things that we're involved in. And those are all places where you want to keep your, eyes and ears open, right? And paying attention, because you never know. I have had strangers join my team before, people that I don't know very well. But as long as you're paying attention to those possibilities and sharing information with them, you never know what can come from that. Okay, so the last thing I'm going to wrap up with here, people who you should be adding to your list, or who some of you have been making your list while I've been talking, or when you're watching the replay, I hope you'll make your list. The last group of people that I want you to think about, some people call it a chicken list. So the people who you think would just be amazing at Jamberry, or people you think who, from the outside, it looks like they have it all. Like they have this amazing life, they have this amazing job, they're the Pinterest mom, they have it all together, whatever it is. But people that you really admire, or people that you think are just really amazing, the people who you are nervous or afraid to talk to about Jamberry because you're not sure that they need it, or you're not sure that they could benefit from it, you just never know, right? Like, they might be that person who really needs that girl time, or, just really needs to do something for themselves, right? Like, you never know. Like, don't make excuses or reasons why somebody wouldn't be good for Jamberry. If you have a conversation and those things come out of the conversation, then, that's up to them to tell you that Jamberry isn't for them because of X, Y, or Z reason. Try not to talk yourself out of something before you've even offered the opportunity, right? And I would say that I can be really guilty of that. And I even think that the longer I've been with Jamberry, I think I've gotten a little bit more gun shy about having those kinds of conversations, because we start to feel like, well, people know I do Jamberry, so if they want to join Jamberry, they'll come talk to me, right? Or those kinds of things. And most of the time that's not true. It really is important to plant those seeds and have those kinds of conversations. Otherwise, they might never connect, or maybe they are really interested, but because you never mentioned it to them, you never offered it to them, they might join with somebody else who did offer it, right? So the example I gave you earlier of the person in your party who says, I have all the jams, but maybe her consultant never talked to her about joining, and because you did, she might join your team, right? So do keep in mind that these people out there in our lives who we think would be really amazing, but they don't need Jamberry, like we kind of talk ourselves out of it, you really never know. So have that conversation, offer it to them, put them on your list. Those people you are afraid to talk to, but maybe this is a month that you finally do it. So I'm going to look at your comments real quick. What is a good way to get possible prospects off the fence? They buy but don't want to join. Okay, Valencia, that's a great question. And I'm actually going to be talking a little bit later on in the month about fence sitters. And I'm going to dedicate that whole training to just talking about how to get people off the fence. So it's a great question. I'm not going to answer it right now if that's okay, because like I said, we're going to focus just on that topic. So right now I'm just trying to kind of hit the highlights. So how do you really get those cold contacts though? Struggle with this so much, try to do outreach and distribute materials, samples, etc. It's difficult to get those hooks for cold contacts and grow the base from which to expand. Okay, good question, Amber. So I'm going to say the two hardest things about cold contacts, or the key ingredients, I think, to moving them from a cold contact to something more. The first is going to be you have to have contact information. So not just that they have yours, but you need to have theirs, because you need to have a way to be able to check back in with them. If you don't, then you probably won't hear from them again, right? So first, contact information. Second, you want to do what you can to establish a dialogue. So when you have that contact information, whether it's you're able to text them or email them or give them a call, you want to do that. And you want to have a reason to check back in with them. That's one of the reasons why I love the contact information sheets that we have for vendor events, because they have to check a box of, do they want to hear about upcoming specials? Do they want to hear about fundraisers? Do they want to hear about, joining, etc.? So it gives me a reason to check back in with them or add them to my mailing list or, those kinds of things. But in order to move someone from a cold contact to more, you need to have multiple check-ins with them and establishing that, that contact. We get nervous about following up with people more than once, but the research actually shows that it takes 8 to 12 times to follow up with someone before something happens. So that's a lot, right? But if someone doesn't, answer your text message, or they don't respond to your email, or they never call you back, or those kinds of things, it doesn't mean that they're not interested, and it doesn't mean that you can't and shouldn't contact them again. You should. And it just might have been a bad time for them, or they might have forgotten. How many times have you gotten a text that you forgot to respond to, right? Because you read it while you're driving, and then you get home and you put the kids to bed, and X, Y, or Z, and you never respond, right? But it doesn't mean that you don't want to, or you're not interested in that information. So following up multiple times, having a conversation, creating a dialogue is really what I have to tell you, Amber. It's not a secret, and it's not a magic recipe. It's not guaranteed to play itself out the same way every time, but just establishing dialogue, listening to those people, coming from that place of service, being polite, being helpful, those things is the best way to move a cold contact into something more. Okay, so Valencia, it's good if you're offering it to everybody. We'll certainly talk more about getting people off the fence. But if you're already offering it to everybody, that's wonderful. You're doing better than I am. But we should be offering it to everybody. And there is a lot to be said for, if you start for the big thing, do you want to join my team? No? Okay. Would you like to host a party? Or do you want to make a purchase? Or do you have a referral that you could offer me? There's a list, that we can kind of go down. And each time someone says no, they might say yes to something else. People are not likely to say no to you, to more than one thing. So there is something to be said for starting for the really hard thing of, would you join my team? Then you can kind of go through that list and work your way down and hopefully get something from the contact, even if it's not a new team member. So I'm going to wrap this part up with just a couple of more things to say. So sometimes, like I said, that can be the really hard part. I said earlier, one is, have you ever thought about doing what I do? So that's a way that you can phrase it. Another way that you can say is, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't offer you the chance to join Jamboree, or that kind of thing. And you can use that phrase for a lot of different things. Like, I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask you to host a party, or that kind of thing. It's really great at parties, at home parties, if you start out the party by saying, if I let you leave here tonight without asking you whether or not you want to have a party with your friends and whether or not you would be interested in learning more about what I do, I'm going to give you a free sheet, or like that kind of thing. Like, if you open up the party by acknowledging, and you can do this in online parties too, you might say, if I let you go the whole party without talking to you about this, then I'm not doing my job. Like, if you kind of put it on the table already as something that you're going to talk to them about, or if you say at the beginning of the party, I love my job, I like doing what I'm doing because of X, Y, and Z reasons. I hope that while this party is going on, you're watching me, and if you're wondering if you can do what I'm doing, you can totally do it. And I want to talk to you about how, or those kinds of things. Like, plant the seed, or, put it on the table that this is a conversation that you're going to have with them. And then later, when you have a chance to talk with them one-on-one, whether it's during full service checkout or it's just through having a conversation, that it might feel easier to you to bring it up, right? Because sometimes just having a way to bring it up can be the scary part. So I hope that that is helpful to you. All right, this is getting long, so I don't want to overwhelm you too much. But very quickly, the last two things that I wanted to talk to you about was, first, making sure that you keep your Jamboree story in mind. Your Jamboree story is one of the most powerful tools that you have when it comes to having people join your team. Telling them more about your experience is a key part in 1.5 hours. I'm not there yet, am I? A little over an hour. It's been an hour and 7 minutes. I started a little bit late, but I am going to wrap this up, I promise. So, as I was saying, your Jamboree story is one of the most powerful things that you have to tell people. I flubbed mine and didn't tell it like as strongly as I could at the beginning of this, but I might have told you that because of Jamboree, I ended up leaving a job that I was really unhappy with. And I might tell you that because of Jamboree, I decided to focus more on myself and my health and my well-being, and 2016 was a huge year for me where I left that job that I was really unhappy with, and I also committed to weight loss and becoming healthier. And because of the confidence that I had gained in myself, because of how much Jamboree showed me that it's okay to want more for my life and to want better for me and my family, I made the commitment to focus on my health, and I've lost 146 pounds because of it. And made that scary leap of leaving a job that I had been at for 10 years, but I wasn't happy with anymore. And those are huge things that if Jamboree weren't in my life, I don't know that those things would have happened. But most of all, that I've made incredible friendships with women who have changed my life and made my life better. And I've learned so much through this Jamberry sisterhood that I have, and I'm so grateful for the ladies who've come into my life and who've been on my team. So, that's just like a brief, snippet of my personal story with Jamberry. But being able to articulate those things, being able to talk to people about what Jamberry has meant for you and what Jamberry has done to change your life is a huge tool. So no matter what your Jamberry story is, don't forget that you have that tool at your disposal. So there's a short little rubric that I'm going to give you of 4 things that you can use to help tell your Jamberry story. So number 1, why did you join initially? I went over that at the beginning of this. 2, what were you worried about? I also talked about that. I was really worried about recruiting. I was also really worried about being able to fit Jamberry into my already busy life. But I quickly realized how much support and help there was, right? Number 3, how are things different now? How has your life changed, or how has your experience with Jamberry changed in the time that you've been with it? Like, what has surprised you, or what did you learn that you didn't know? Like, that initial thing you were worried about. And number 4, what is the best thing about this experience for you? So if you can tell your story in those 4 things, that can be really helpful to telling your story and making it work for you in terms of sharing it with other people. And this last part that I want to talk about is just knowing your why. That connects to your story. They say your why you're doing this, what you're trying to get out of Jamberry, what's the reason that you're working your business. They say it should be, your why should make you cry. It should tug at your heart. It should be the reason that you get up and you do the hard things. The reason why you take time out of your day, that all of us are busy, but why do you take time for Jamberry? What's your why? If you don't know what it is, then you might want to explore that so you can talk about it with other people. And it could be so many things. It could be small. A lot of executives say that when they first started, it was because they wanted to be able to afford Starbucks, right? Our why changes over time, but being able to articulate that wherever you are in your journey can be so helpful to having that conversation with somebody else so that they might see themselves in you in reasons why they might join Jamberry or they might benefit from Jamberry. So I've covered a lot of ground. Recruiting 101 is kind of a big topic. I hope that I have given you some helpful information. It was a lot, and I didn't have visuals, so I am going to condense it for you and make it a little bit easier to digest, especially for those of you who might not be able to watch live with us. And in the next video that I do for you guys, later on in our training, I am going to talk specifically about fence sitters. And since I didn't talk about it today, I also want to talk a little bit about overcoming objections. When people say no, or they give you reasons why they don't think that Jamberry is a good fit, how do you respond to that? And what do you do? What do you say in response? So I'm going to cover those things in the next video. I'm sorry for being long-winded. I'm at 1 hour and 13 minutes now. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. I'm going to give you your homework. So if you have a sneak peek coming up on your team page, your homework is going to be to, yes, Marissa, I'm still live. I'm sorry. Okay, so your homework is going to be, if you have a sneak peek coming up on your team page, check with your team manager, see if you do. I want you to find 3 people who say yes to you about joining your team's sneak peek. So I talked in this video about making a list in your recruiting journal of prospects. I told you where to find prospects. So I want you to start having conversations with those people and find 3 people to join your team's upcoming sneak peek. Okay? Side homework for for those of you who don't have a sneak peek coming up on your team page, I want you to make a list of 10 people that you are going to have a conversation with about Jamboree. 10 people that you're going to, and I want everyone to do this. So if you have a sneak peek coming up, of those 10 people, at least find 3 to join a sneak peek. But I want everybody to make a list of 10 people to approach and talk to the Jamboree opportunity about. If you go back through current parties, past parties, VIPs, your chicken list, people who you think would be great at this, but you're afraid to talk to, strangers that you meet, whatever. You should be able to come up with 10 people. So 10 people that you want to approach and talk to the Jamboree opportunity about. Okay, and I'll give you some more strategies in the next video of how you get them from maybe to yes, right? Getting off that fence. So that's it. I'm going to wrap up here at 1 hour and 15 minutes. Sorry that it was so long. Thanks so much for those of you who hung out with me and asked questions. I'm so excited for you ladies to work on building your teams and becoming LCs or re-ranking as LCs in July. Thanks, ladies. Have a good night.